Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter, and it's Wednesday, so we'll be taking a look at the Thanksgiving slate, right? NFL 3-game Thanksgiving slate. Got 3 separate games. You can play the showdowns, obviously, of those 3 games. I don't know what you guys are doing for Thanksgiving. I'm going up to my mother-in-law's, right? Me, my wife, and whatever. They have a whole bunch of kids. I don't know. They have so many kids. I don't know whose is whose or whatever, and whatever. It's just it's a mess going up there. I don't know what. Having some turkey, right? Having whatever you normally eat on Thanksgiving. I see you guys in the YouTube chat, right? Give me those thumbs ups on your way in the door. What are you thankful for? Are you thankful for this show? I'm not. I'm not thankful for anyone here, right? I'm thankful for the smart people in the chat. That makes up 99% of the chat, of the YouTube chat. So I'm thankful for you guys, in Max Coach and Matt Mears and Daniel Hutchings and Joe Mack and Suki Singh, right? Not here as early as normal. Josh Duck, Apocalypse, Steve the producer. Thankful. What are we thankful for? Thankful that get some time off. I'm going to be. Just programming note. Tomorrow I will be on. This show won't exist technically, but it will be the pre-lock show with me before the Thanksgiving slate. So that's going to be like, I think 11:45. I guess. I don't know. They don't put a time on the schedule. I think it should be 11:45. 45 minutes before lock, right? 12:30 lock. 11:45. You know, pre-lock show before then. So you can see me tomorrow then, and then Friday there's no pregame show. Friday, just Thanksgiving weekend, Thanksgiving, whatever. No, nothing on Friday. And then we're back to the normal business the following week. But we do have a Thanksgiving Day slate. It's never the greatest slate, because you always have the Lions on it, right? I mean, you have some of these teams that are not necessarily good. Typically, there's one game out of the 3 that you look at and you go, oh. And I think that's the Bears and the Lions. The Cowboys-Raiders games looks to be the better of the games as far as the total is concerned. I mean, we have Chicago-Detroit total looks around, just over 40. Cowboys-Raiders is over 50, and Bills-Saints is around 45 or so. If you're playing large field GPPs on Thanksgiving, if you simulate it out, we've done this in the past. Shorter slates in NFL, super stacks are more valuable. Super stacks, super duper stacks are more valuable. Only because there's only so many people to choose from, and too few of the field, too less of a percentage of the field over stacks. A lot of people will stack. It's hard not to stack when there's only 3 games, okay? It's hard not to. But if you're playing the large field, especially on Thanksgiving, where you got a lot of casual people playing, and Draftkings puts out really big contests, okay? Many people are going to pick a lot of the Raiders-Dallas game, mixed with David Montgomery, right? Mixed with DeAndre Swift, right? Something like that. Maybe they stack a different game, but they still take, receivers. If CeeDee Lamb isn't in, they're taking Cedric Wilson. It's going to be very chalky types of lineups. But how do you play the chalk and still have a contrarian lineup? By playing a lot of them together. So super stacked lineups in large field GPPs have the highest expected value. Of course, they have the highest variance. Okay, so essentially you're betting on one game or one team to go significantly over. I'm going to overstack the Cowboys. I want them to put up 43 points. I want the Bears Lions game to be 17-3. I want the Buffalo New Orleans game to be 10-6. And then you go. You won. You win. Or the complete opposite. The Bears put up 35 points. The Bills the Bills Saints game is 43-26. And the Cowboys Raiders game ends up being, 16-13. Like something like that. You want one of the games to be like the outlier game, and you have like all the pieces. The rest of your competition, your opponents have some of the pieces, but you have all of the pieces. So you overstack. Doesn't mean you can't build other lineups. I'm not saying other lineups can't win, but I'm more likely in large field GPPs, probably even small ones, I guess, but large ones definitely, to overstack, only because it's hard to like do singles. Like, okay, we're gonna let's set up, for instance, we don't have ownership going. Like to do a normal type of stack of where you're going, like, quarterback with 2 pass catchers. Obviously, we can include a running back in there also. So let's just do 2 of those, and then a one run back, right? A lot of people do the 3+1. So we did that. Let's say I'm just going to build 100 lineups, right? Make sure my build rules are just 1. I'm going to leave up. Also, one thing you could do is leave a ton of money on the table, right? Don't feel compelled to 49.9 or whatever. No, whatever it is, it is. So if I build 100 lineups with just a combination of my main part of my lineup is 3+1, you're going to see that your lineups, even if you're taking the Lions, even if you're taking the Bears, it's still going to contain a lot of chalkier players. We don't have the ownership currently. That should be updated later today. You're going to see Montgomery, Swift. You're going to see, obviously, we have CeeDee Lamb in our projections here. We don't know if he's going to play. We have Kamara in our projections because he's questionable. So we're not going to know about Ingram. Or do we play Ingram? Do we play Cedric Wilson if Lamb's not in? But look, it's like, here's the top lineup that's projected based on our Gridiron IQ projections. Carr, Jacobs, Renfro, Waller. Okay, that's 4, right? +1. And then you get Ezekiel Elliott. Then you have Traquan Smith, Emmanuel Sanders, David Montgomery, and the Bears defense. Like, that makes sense, right? You're almost a 4+1, a 1+1 stack, and then the running back defense. It spends all 5,000. This is going to be duped. This exact lineup will be duped, like duped. Probably multiple times, maybe 20 times, maybe 30 times. Right? We take a look at this. Carr, Edwards, Waller, Jacobs, Bills, Beasley, Lamb. Still contains, like, it's like, okay, we're going to stack one game and then try to stack the other game and then have a piece of everything. Where it may be more beneficial to overstack. So you're going to play like 4 or even 5 +2, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 5 +2, or even 5 +3 if we wanted to. Quarterback with 4 teammates. Let's do 3. Let's take a look at what it looks like if we do basically a 4 +3, which includes the running back also. So you go 4 and 2 on the other side. You could even do 3 on the other side. Let's do 3 on the other side. So essentially, you're stacking both sides of the game, 3 guys from both sides, and choosing one of the quarterbacks. With 100 lineups like that, you're going to see that the lineups look kind of similar, but the combination of the players is going to be much lower owned in total. You're going to see, okay, well, you have Prescott, you have Lamb, you have Carr, you have Waller, you have Renfro, you have Edwards. Then you have the other side of the game, and it's like, oh, what's the difference? It's like, well, many people aren't going to have all of them together. So here's the top 1. Prescott, Wilson, Lamb, Schultz. This is with it, even if Lamb's in, so you still play Wilson there. Prescott, Wilson, Lamb, Schultz, and you run it back with Jacobs, Renfro, and Waller. And then you have David Montgomery and the Bears defense. Like it still contains a lot of the players that showed up before. It still contains that. But are people going to have all of these players together? Not as many. This lineup may not end up being unique, but maybe under 3, under 5. Right? Instead of Renfro, you play Edwards. You leave money on the table. Is 500 on the table? Is there any? I mean, I didn't set a cap on the quarterbacks. So salary low to high. Like here's 47.8. Right? It looks very similar to the other lineups. It's just you're leaving more money on the table. Right? You can play any of these lineups. Obviously, since the Raiders and the Cowboys game projects the best, you're going to get more of that game. So let's cap the quarterbacks. So we have what? We have 6 quarterbacks, 3 games. So we're going to cap it at what? What does that turn out to be? 17%? 17 times 6, does that work out? Quarterback max exposure 17. I mean, we could do 20. It's gonna give me all the quarterbacks, but it's 17. Put 4,000 salary floor. So now I want to see what Allen lineups look like. What Fields, Dalton lineups. Who's playing for the Bears? Is Goff going to play? Is Boyle going to play? I mean, what do we have in? Right, we have Jared Goff in because he's questionable. Right, any questionable tag we keep in our projections. We have Simeon with Taysom Hill. You're probably not playing Taysom Hill, right? It's probably going to come up when I run this, but those lineups are going to be projected way low. So I'm going to build 100 lineups with these super duper stacks, 4 plus 3. People think, maybe rightfully, on a main slate, like if you're playing like an 11-game slate, Sunday slate, 12-game slate. Well, 4 plus 3, these types of lineups, you play in very small field. It's like, I just want to get the right game, and I want to get as much out of that as possible, but I don't have to hit the nuts. So I don't need to get all these like one-off guys that, go off. You don't need to get the one guy that goes 40 in one game, right? The Jonathan Taylor last week. I don't need that. But you have to realize that on an 11-game slate, there's 22 teams where that one-off could come from that you'll need for a large field GPP. On a 3-game slate, there aren't as many options. So on an 11-game slate, you have all these receivers, all these running backs. You have the cheap guy, a guy that goes 5 for 100 and 2 touchdowns. And it's like, oh, I didn't play a lot of that game because there was 12 games on the slate. When there's 3 games on the slate, everyone's being played. Everyone is being played. Like everyone's getting ownership. There's no like you're gonna need that guy, right? But are you gonna just piece them all together? That's what everyone else is trying to do. So super stacking is actually much more contrarian, even though your lineups look like they're owned, but it's just that the combination, who's playing all these guys together. So we take a look here. So this is the main reason why, instead of looking, this is the type of slate where you would care even less about total ownership and more about product ownership. So instead of ownership sum, ownership product. Because you have to combine all the players on the same team, because it's like, oh, if Lamb's 30% and Schultz is 30% and Elliott is 30%, it's like, I'm going to multiply them. It's like, yeah, but a lot of people are not going to be playing all 3 together. They're going to play 2 of those 3, but not all. So the 30%, like if David Montgomery is 30% and Lamb is 30% and Elliott is 30%, like they're actually probably going to be more combinations of Lamb, Elliott, Montgomery lineups than there are of Lamb, Elliott, Schultz lineups, right? Like more people are going to play less Cowboys than 3 Cowboys. I don't know if I'm even explaining this well enough. The combination of the players is less of it, even though the ownership total compared, if you pick different players from different teams, looks the same, right? So if you pick 2 Bears, 2 of this from different games, and they all have the same ownership sum, but one of them is like all the guys from the same game. The one with all the guys from the same game is actually going to be lower owned. Because people are going to be less likely to be building these types of lineups. Okay, so let's take a look at Jared Goff lineups. Right? And how much projection can you give up? I mean, you could get a large field on a 3-game slate. You could give up a ton. Right? The top one here is 125.78. You could give up like 25 points on this type of slate. You're looking for one big outlier game. That's it. So Jared Goff lineups. So you have Goff, Swift, Brown, Hawkinson, and Montgomery, Robinson, and Mooney. So it's not like you're playing weird guys out of the blue. It's not like you're playing fifth wide receivers or third tight ends or anything like that. You're still playing the main guys. It's just that you're playing them all together. Right? We take a look. I mean, you can get most of the same players. But in that last guy, you could rotate through a lot of people. So here, let's go. Scroll down. You go all the way to the bottom. I mean, it's basically the same lineup, just you're rotating flex guys and the defenses. Right? Because you're playing Montgomery in all these lineups. You're playing Swift in all these lineups. Right? Here's a Stephon Diggs lineup. Here's a Jamal Williams lineup. Right? Goff, Williams, Hawkinson, Swift, Montgomery, Robinson, Mooney. Then he played Diggs in the Bills defense. And also another thing that you could do is because there's only 6 defenses to choose from, like don't necessarily play max offense versus defense. Like pick sixes, that's how ceilings get made. So a defense could have the highest scoring defense and the opposing quarterback could be the highest scoring quarterback also. But a lot of people will stick and go, well, if I play this game stack, I'm not gonna play the defenses. Why not? That makes you a little bit more unique. That people are less likely to do that. And it's not like a slate. Like if we had a 12-game slate, there'd be 24 defenses to choose from. And defense is a very variant position. So with 24 defenses to choose from, why bother playing the slightly negatively correlated defense in against your own team? You wouldn't, only because there's a lot of options. Now there's only 6 options. And most people are going to go, I'm going to stack this game, and I'm not going to play the defenses from this game, and I'm going to play one of the 4 defenses that are left. Well, let's say no team scores a pick 6. Let's see, no team gives up, less than 14 points, and all the defenses are there. It's essentially like 3 to 7. So what does it matter what defense you play then? So if you're playing a Lions stack, play the Lions defense. So it's the cheapest defense. If they score 3, another defense scores 7, it may not even matter. Or maybe the Lions return 1. And that game goes off, and like you have a Bears stack. You have your Andy Dalton Bears stack. Dalton throws a pick 6 and then gets the ball right back and throws for 300 yards. I mean, people are going to be not going to be building that as much. But the only reason you could do it on these types of slates and less so on the larger slates is opportunity cost. You don't have that much of an opportunity cost at any position on this slate because there's only 3 games to choose from. When there's 12 games to choose from, then there's an opportunity cost. Why would you play negatively correlated players when you have 100 other options? So let's take a look at what does Dalton look like on the other side? I mean, it's essentially, they're going to look like the very similar lineups, just with Dalton there instead of Goff. Dalton, Montgomery, Robinson, Mooney, Swift, Brown, Hawkinson. Diggs builds defense. Right? I mean, you can build so many of these types of lineups because all you're doing is pretty much rotating the flex and the defense. Some of these have like Jamal Williams, or do they even have is like Cole Kmet even in some of these? I mean, I guess if you build 300 or something. We already looked at the Carr and the Prescott ones, right? That's fairly self-explanatory. Those project the best. They're also going to be the higher owned ones. Then have a take a look at the Bills Saints. We have Josh Allen. So here you go. Here's Allen, Beasley, Sanders, Diggs. So 3 receivers, and then Kamara, Smith, and Juwan Johnson, because Adam Troutman's out. And you get David Montgomery in the Bears defense. There, I mean, that's also a correlation. So you super stack an entire game. Here's one with Allen, Sanders, Knox, Diggs, Traquan Smith, Deontay Harris, and come on. And they go Bears and David Montgomery. So it's not like you're playing a weird guy. It's not even like you're playing weird guys. You're not playing fifth wide receivers. You're still not playing that. Here's Moss, right? Allen, Beasley, Diggs, Moss, Kamara, Smith, Juwan Johnson. Then if you look on the Trevor Siemian side, I mean, they look very similar. Very similar lineups because, you're playing 7 guys in your lineup from the same game. So here's one with Siemian, Kamara, Smith, Johnson, Beasley, Sanders, Diggs. Then you have Elliott in the Bears defense. If we take a look at just sorting by fantasy points, like we go total salary, low to high, some of these lineups, 46-6, right? The Siemian lineup leaves tons of money on the table. Still projects for 112, 111. I mean, look, we built 100 lineups using all of these quarterbacks. The top one is 125. The bottom one is 111. For a 3-game slate, for large field GPPs, I mean, giving up 14 points that's fine. You could go lower. And you're fully correlated. You're betting on games, and less people will be doing that. So I just want to show this. Doesn't have to be 4+3. No, it could be, experiment with the different types. It could also be you're not stacking a game. Let's say one of the teams just completely obliterates the other team. So I'm gonna stack up, right? The Cowboys Raiders game, and the Cowboys go out and just put up 47 points, and the Raiders are just sitting there with 3 points. And you have all these Raiders in your Cowboys lineups, and you're sitting there going, great, everyone with the Cowboys wins, but if you have the Raiders, they suck. Well, then why not build those lineups? Let's say we do that. We get rid of these run backs altogether. We go quarterback and four teammates with no run back. None of it. Build 100 lineups like this. Of all the teams, because we have the 17% per quarterback. Just so we can look. How are people going to build lineups, and how could you build similarly projected lineups that people will be less owned in general, in combination? So here we go. Here, Allen, Davis, Beasley, Knox, Diggs. No New Orleans Saints. Right? The Bills just come out and obliterate them. And then you fit in the guys that are left, right? So you fill in Lamb, Montgomery, Jacobs. There you go. Josh Allen, super duper stack with no run back. You do the Siemian side. Let's say the Saints just go out and obliterate the Bills. Siemian, Harris, Callaway, Smith, Kamara. No Bills run backs. Let's say we go to Jared Goff. Goff, Swift, Reynolds, Brown, Hawkinson, and then the Bears, nothing. Very contrarian, because a lot of people have been playing Montgomery in the Bears defense. Let's say you do play the Bears. Well, here you go. Dalton, Montgomery, Robinson, Mooney, Kmet. No run back. I just have that team go off. Then you get Derek Carr, right? Against the Cowboys. Nope, they just blow out the Cowboys. That's it. I'm just going to take all Carr, Jacobs, Edwards, Renfro, Waller. No Cowboys in return. Or the opposite. Prescott, Elliott, Gallup, Lamb, Schultz. And no Raiders. You're still playing. Look, we're still going through lineups where we're still not playing weird fifth receivers from the team, which obviously, some weird guy could go off. We're still playing kind of the main starting players that, will see the field enough. Because a lot of people, what they do is that instead of super stacking, what they do is okay, I'm going to play, I'm going to play David Montgomery. I'm going to play, they play some of the, mix and match, and then they go down. They go, maybe this is the game for, you got to go all the way down to projection. You go, I'm going to play Foster Moreau at tight end, which, yes, I guess he could catch a touchdown. You're right. Or play Malik Turner. I'm going to play Isaiah McKenzie in my line for the 2 snaps that he's out there. or Marquise Goodwin, assuming that obviously Allen Robinson is in it. Like they go down to like these ranges. I'm gonna play Kadarrell Hodge. And maybe he goes at me. You're right. Maybe he has 2 catches for 30 yards, including 1 touchdown. Maybe. Could he end up in the optimal lineup? Sure, maybe. They're like, I'm just going to mix in little Jordan Humphrey, and I'm going to mix in Tony Jones. I'm going to play instead of Kamara is out, and I'm going to play Tony Jones instead of Mark Ingram. I mean, you could. I'm going to play Jamar Jefferson. Right? You go down to all the way to the bottom where the guys are barely projected. And they say, oh, I'm just going to play a chalky lineup and play 2 of these guys in every line. And hopefully I get the right one. I don't think that's not necessary. These guys, you're giving up by doing that 5 to 7 points of projection. And what are you gaining? You're gaining ownership in that spot, but you could probably find an ownership product by correlating more than even by doing that. By trying to, I'm going to play all the best plays and then play one guy at 1% off. Can you do it? Yes. I'm not saying it can't happen. But more people will be trying to build that way on Thanksgiving than build with the super stacks. And if you simulate it out historically, I don't think we have the sim. We may have that up later today. If you're a premium member, click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month of a RotoGrinders premium subscription. In the past, we've had Thanksgiving slate IQ. I don't know if we have it this year, but every short slate, because we've done playoff slate IQs, we've done Thanksgiving slate IQs with the small slates like this. It's always been that super stacks are the positive leverage stacks. Like everything else is actually negative leverage. Doesn't mean the super stacks show up and win GPPs more often than the other ones. Just that compared to the ownership of them, they're positive. So typically on these slates for GPP, I build this way. Super stacks. And look how many ways you could build those. Like it sounds like, oh, there's only 3 games. How many ways can you build a stack of one game? Well, are you building 3 plus 2, 4 plus 3, 4 plus 2, 4 plus 1, 4 plus none, 5 plus none, 5 plus 1, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 3. Can't do 5 plus 4 because there's only 9 slots here. One of them is a defense. So it sounds like you're limited, but actually there's a ton of different ways, depending on how many players from the other side of the game, how many players paired with the quarterback. It could be the opposite type. It could be a 3 plus 4. You could do you could do 2 plus 3. Right? It seems odd to say like, well, I'm gonna play the quarterback, but with less of that side of the game, right? Imagine you played Prescott. You go, I'm going to play Prescott, Elliott, Lamb, and then I'm going to play 3 guys from the Raiders: Jacobs, Waller, Renfro. It's like, wouldn't I want the 3 guys to be with Carr? Like, not necessarily. Prescott throws, 4 touchdowns, 2 to Lamb, 2 to Elliott, right? Elliott also has 2 rushing touchdowns, and there you go. Then Renfro has, 9 for 90 and a touchdown. Waller has, is 5 for 100 and a touchdown. And Jacobs runs for, 80 yards, 30 yards receiving and a touchdown. And then, okay. And Prescott has more points than David Carr. I always say David Carr. That's when I used to watch football. David Carr, Derek Carr. So those are in play. I'm going to do 4 plus 1. Why can't you do 2 plus 4? You could. So you can see how many combinations there could possibly be. And if I'm telling you, download the CSV once it hits locked. Obviously, you're gonna have to wait till after the late game. You'll see that more people will be playing lineups with bits and pieces. They'll stack, with the quarterback with 2 receivers. They'll do stuff like that because it's hard not to. You'll see a lot more lineups that are mishmash types of lineups, which have a higher projection. Yes. We do mishmash lineups with just whoever, just to play cash lineup. That's fine. It's the highest projection. It's also going to have the highest ownership. So how do you mitigate that ownership? Well, mitigate it by over correlating, like overdoing it, because the opportunity cost of doing so is low. Because people are going to ask, why can't you do that on regular slates? I mean, you can do it on regular slates. It's rare that that's going to be a winning lineup in a large field GPP because the opportunity cost of every position is very high because there's 11 other games to choose from, right? There's 10, 11, 12, 13 other games to choose from. What's the opportunity cost here? There's only 2 other games to choose from. There's only so many players to choose from. So let's say I just play 8 guys from the same game. Well, isn't that much? Like, well, what's the opportunity cost? And so instead of playing Cedric Wilson, I'm playing Josh Reynolds. Like, what's the opportunity cost there between the two? Well, what happens if he only scores 7 points? It's like, okay, well, that can still win. Him scoring 7 points could still be in the winning lineup. Why? There's only 3 games. So I hope you understand that. It's the opportunity cost of doing so is lower on a smaller slate. Going through the YouTube chat, be a short show today. What else can we talk about? And I'm probably, what I'm talking about right now, I will probably be talking about again tomorrow. I mean, I'm essentially going to be doing the same show, but we may have information on these questionable players. And we'll run some lineups tomorrow at 11:45. Are we doing it at 11:45? I don't know. It's not on there's no time on the schedule. I think it's 11:30. I don't have to do an hour. 11:45. Let's call it 11:45. Let's call it 11:45. I'll make it happen. Oh, let's see. Going through the YouTube chat. People are talking about, game theory optimal turkey eating. Thanksgiving strategy. Eat a little today to make room or fill up today to stretch things out for tomorrow. I just say eat whatever you want, right? That's my way. Who cares? Eat whatever you want. Eat as much as you want. Michael Dompier, given how hard it seems to get different in a large field for Thanksgiving slate, what do you think about saying screw it? It's easy to get different in showdown. I just explained how you can get different in a 3-game slate. Who says you can't? Who says you can't play both? Who says you don't have to play anything? You don't have to. Spend time with your family. Don't play. Right? I'm gonna play. All I'm doing tomorrow is playing cash on Thanksgiving. Just playing one cash lineup, and then I'm done. I'm driving up. Don't have to deal with the switching out 20 or 100 lineups or whatever. And that's all I'm doing. Just maybe I play the 8 p.m. showdown. Maybe I do that. I don't even know if I'm gonna be home in time. I don't have to worry about it. It's Thanksgiving. Fine. You have the money. You make the money on Thanksgiving. I'm essentially just going to play a cash lineup. Raul, could someone give an example of how to calculate product ownership? Well, product. I don't want to sound patronizing or anything. The word product is what you get when you multiply numbers together. So just like sum. If I say, how do you calculate the sum? That means you would add the numbers together. How would you calculate the product? You would multiply the numbers together. So you multiply the ownership, the numbers of all the players in your lineup. If you have 50%, if 50% of lineups have this guy, and 50% of lineups have this guy, how many lineups have both of those guys? Well, you may not know because people may be playing different ones, but a way to estimate it is multiply the 2, right? 50% times 50% is what? 25%. 25% of lineups, possibly, depending on the factors of correlation, would have both together, right? Now you have another 50% owned player. 50% times 50% times 50% is 12.5%. Now, the reason why product ownership product is a better estimator than ownership sum is because the product of the ownership could be lower than the total. So for instance, we have three players in a lineup. Pretend the lineup only has 3 players. I'm doing it for easier math example. If you have 3 players, 20% times 20% times 20%. So 3 20% owned players. That would be a total of 60. Let's say in this other lineup, I have a 50% owned player a 5% owned player, and a 5% owned player. So 55 and 5. They're both 60 total. But the one that's 55 and 5 has much more leverage. Much more likely, much more uniqueness to it. It's the same total. Let's make the total even more, right? So you have 20, 20, 20. And then you have another lineup that is 50, 10, 10. So the 50, 10, 10 lineup has a total sum of ownership of 70, yet it's more unique. 50% player times a 10% player times a 10% player is a lower number than 20% times 20% times 20%. So that's why product ownership product, when you calculate like that, will give you a better, not an exact, these aren't exact ways to do it. These are blunt ways to do it. But they will give you a better consideration on how unique your lineup is, how lower owned your lineup is as a whole. Michael Dompier, would you be more lenient with rules? I assume you'd almost never play Elliott and Pollard together, but is it remotely possible to play them together? Sure, why not? What is the opportunity cost? That's the thing that you have to consider. Oh, but they're negatively correlated. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't play them. Just because two players are negatively correlated doesn't, you could always play negatively correlated players. You're just sacrificing ceiling by doing so. What are you gaining? If you're not gaining anything, then you shouldn't be doing it. But can you gain something by doing it? A lot of times you gain by it's lower owned. So okay, you're gaining leverage. But what else are you getting on a 3-game slate? The opportunity cost of like, well, instead of playing Elliott and Pollard together, I'm going to play Elliott and what? Jamal Williams? You could do that. But let's say you play Pollard instead of Jamal Williams. And Pollard scores 4 points and Jamal Williams scores 2 points. What was the opportunity cost? There's not that many players to choose from. So the opportunity cost is low. That's the reason. So when the opportunity cost is low on making choices like that, you get benefit from making choices that other people aren't going to make because they're confusing what you do on a 12-game slate from what you do on a 3-game slate. The reason why people will not play Elliott and Pollard tomorrow together is they're negatively correlated, and then they're not doing, because on a 12-game slate, that's probably a bad idea to play 2 running backs from the same team together. It's likely a bad idea. Only because there's 24 other running backs. There's 30 other running backs to choose from. Why are you playing 2 from the same team? Here, there's what? 6, 8? There aren't as many. But people will treat and build their lineups for a 3-game slate like it's an 11-game slate. Now, if the field was smarter and they built more like that, then we'd have to think the opposite way, right? But that's how we beat DFS. Being better than the market, being better than your opponents. Playing lineups that have more likelihood of winning than your opponent's lineups due to exploiting what your opponents are doing that is negatively affecting them. Well, I can't play the running back and wide receiver of one team and the defense of the opposite team. That doesn't make any sense because people don't realize, not enough people realize that points allowed for defense. I don't care. Who cares that much about it? One of these defensive special teams scores a touchdown. You're going to need that defense. You're going to need that. Right? Doesn't matter what team it is. Right? You go, David Montgomery catches, 6 passes out of the backfield, rushes for 100 yards, scores 3 touchdowns. And that Bears-Lions game is very close. Why? Because the Lions have a special teams touchdown and have a pick 6. And you're sitting there going, who the hell would play David Montgomery and the Lions defense? Shouldn't you be playing the running back? Well, you could do that. Why? Because there's only 6 defenses, these DSTs to choose from. You probably wouldn't do that on a 12-game slate. You still could, you could. It's negatively correlated, but the opportunity cost is much higher. On this slate coming up, the opportunity cost isn't high. Raul says, so when opportunity cost is low, prioritize raw points. No, when the opportunity cost is low, prioritize being different. Since the opportunity, people will not, do not realize, people, I say people as a whole, sharp players realize that what they're going to do is prioritize that. Like Raul, that is what they're going to do. Oh, the opportunity cost is low. Prioritize raw points. No, that's when the opportunity cost is low. That means you don't have to prioritize raw points at all. That's the least. That's why I said earlier. You want to sacrifice 20 points in projection for a lineup in a large field GPP tomorrow? Go for it. 30 points, go for it. It's a 3-game slate. What's the opportunity cost is low. You sacrifice 30 points on a 12-game slate? That's stupid. Only because you have so many more options. Why are you playing the 5th wide receiver of some team on a slate with 12 games on it? For the, I'm going to play a guy that's only going to be out there for 7 snaps for 3,500. It's like, are there $3,500 players that are actually projected for like 5 points more than that? Yeah. So why don't you play them? So instead of playing the 0.1% owned guy, you're playing the 1.2% owned guy. So what you have tons of options to choose from. Here you don't. You only have 3 games to choose from. Daniel Hutchings says prioritize mat lineups. Win a lot of money in short slates this way. That's correct. That's essentially what I'm saying. I mean, Daniel's putting it in a much more lackadaisical, nonchalant type of way. Mat lineups, right? Lineups that don't project that well. That don't project horribly, but don't project well. In the simulations that I've run, over correlated lineups tend to do that because obviously your lineup as a whole, ceiling wise, is going to start coming down because you're playing like 7 guys from the same game. So when Lamb scores a touchdown, Gallup ain't scoring a touchdown, right? When Elliott scores a rushing touchdown, it hurts the 4 other guys in your lineup. But the difference is that, like, Zeke Elliott's having 14 points in the running back slot on this slate, maybe the highest running back score. Maybe that's fine, right? You have to think like that. What's the opportunity cost? It's low. Well, what happens if I don't play David Montgomery? Well, if David Montgomery puts up 32 points, you're probably going to need him. Okay, well, obviously. David Montgomery puts up 12 points. You may still need him. You may still need him. I mean, like, you'll need 12 points. Can you find 12 points somewhere? Well, on a 12-game slate, you could find 12 points at running back from a ton of other games. Here you can't, right? So it's quite possible that the winning lineup, if none of the running backs score a touchdown and none of the running backs have a 100-yard game, what's the opportunity cost at running back? Not much, right? DeAndre Swift has 14 points, and he's the highest scoring running back on the slate. And you'll need him. You'll be like, oh, Swift has 14. He has a snowflake above his thing, and you still need him because you have to have 2 running backs. So what's the opportunity cost? So if it's going to be a low scoring slate at running back, so you feel free to play a weird running back. Play a second running back. Play, a second tight end. Oh, people are going to play Juwan Johnson at 2,600. Okay, so play another tight end. What's the opportunity cost of not playing Juwan Johnson? Juwan Johnson is projected for 6.6. So let's say he scores 6 points. If you roster another tight end that scores 3, what much you missed out on 3 points? Well, there you go. Can you make that up elsewhere? Sure, why not? So the opportunity cost is low. You cannot play these slates. I mean, you can, you'd be playing it badly. But you cannot play these slates as 12-game slates, like Sunday main slates. You have to play them more closer to how you think about Showdown than you would about how do you think about Sunday classic slates. So if you have that showdown mentality, you'd be better off on the Thanksgiving slate tomorrow, as well as obviously on the showdowns. So if you got any questions, feel free to post them in the YouTube chat, or I'll be on tomorrow to I'll be answering all this stuff tomorrow also, right? 11:45. We're going with 11:45, I think. Steve, tell you lie, we're going for 11:45 tomorrow, I think. Daniel Hutchins says, fun thought experiment. How often does the worst projected wide receiver 1 put up the best score in a 3-game slate versus the 12-game slate? Right. Right. If you think about that, that's exactly what I'm saying. But when it comes to opportunity cost, like, well, I'm going to play, Stephon Diggs on this slate, the wide receiver 1 for the Bills. So, like, if Tyreek Hill was on the slate and Devontae Adams was on the slate, if, we name all the top end wide receivers, if Cooper Kupp was on the slate, if we'd start naming all of them, if all of them were on the slate, like on an 11-game slate, like if I don't play one of them is probably going to go off. Well, one of them is going to put up 35 plus points. So the opportunity cost there is high. Oh, I'm going to play all 4K receivers, right? And pay up at running back or something like that. Okay, you better hope that none of 6 or 7 high-end wide receiver 1s put up 40 points. Well, it's harder to do that when there's 6 of them, 8 of them. On this slate, you got what? Diggs? Lamb, if he plays, maybe. So it's like, so a lot of people are going to be playing Stephon Diggs going, well, he's the highest ceiling. But what happens if he only scores 14 points? Do you need him? No. What's the opportunity cost of not playing? Not high, because how many other? It's not like you could play. Well, instead of Diggs, I'm going to play Kupp or Adams or something like. There's no one like that there. So as long as he fails, like you never needed to pay up at wide receiver. Jacob Calloway says we went from marbles to opportunity cost. Huge jump. You missed the marbles episode yesterday. I thought it was a good episode. If you obviously most of the people currently in chat don't need the refresher on exactly what basic statistics are. But if you want to check that out, feel free to do so. And hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Way out the door. I will, like I said, programming note. I always have to say multiple programming notes because I still get 14 DMs from people that seem to regularly watch the show or listen to the show and don't pay attention. So I don't know how that works. But tomorrow, 11:45, NFL pre-lock show. So this show will not exist tomorrow, right? The pregame show. I'll be here. It'll be the same. It'll still be me. It'll be just me. Won't have a guest. Won't have, Will won't be here with me. Cards won't be. Just be me. Pre-lock show for the NFL Thanksgiving slate tomorrow. And then Friday, there's no pregame show at all for the holiday show. So eat a lot if you want. Eat whatever you want. Play whatever contest you want. Play the showdowns. Do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not doing what I want. I have to go to my mother-in-law's. So I'm not even able to do what I want. You know what I want to do? Just sleep in and not do anything. Right? Bring the food to me. Right? They're an hour away. So drive the food to me. Just drive. And even then, do I even care? Oh, you don't want the turkey? You don't want the stuffing? You don't want... I can order a pizza. Who cares? Food's food. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But it's the way to get your family together. Who cares? I see these people already. Whether it's one specific day. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? I'm the man yelling at the cloud. Why do holidays exist? What does it matter? None of this matters. But have a good Thanksgiving, right? And it doesn't matter to me, but have a good Thanksgiving because I'm based on society. I'm supposed to wish you that, right? So I don't seem like a douchebag, right? Gotta wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I gotta wish you a happy holidays. Drive safely. I gotta tell you to drive safely because apparently if I don't tell you that, you're not going to drive safely. And enjoy yourself. And I'll be back tomorrow for the NFL pre-lock show. But I'll answer your DFS strategy questions. And remember, Friday, no show. Don't DM me. saying, what happened to the show? Where's the show? No show on Friday. But I'll be back on Monday to answer your DFS strategy questions as always on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.